day, everyone. I'm Angeline S. Tolentino, leader of Group 5. Here are the objectives of our assigned task today. Objectives. At the end of the lesson, the learner must be able to configure user access, identify features of user's account, install Active Directory Domain Services, or ADDS, and create a user account.
Configure user access. In the workplace, computers are not used by an individual for personal use. Computers are usually accessed by more than one person. System administrators are able to log on locally if these accounts are in the domain. A computer is able to identify between one person to another through a security device called the use account object. Each user in the network has a unique user account that contains the contact details of the users as well as what his or her rights and restrictions in accessing resources, folder, etc.
Features of a user account. The following are the features of domain-based user account in Windows Server 2008 R2, which we'll be using throughout this module. Number 1, password security. Each user account is protected by a password to provide authorization and access to the system. 2, permissions. There are access privileges granted to a user account, example, group, membership, user-specific, setting to access security, and etc.
Identification. Having a user account means easily identifying the person to the computer system and network. User rights. Having a user rights is a high-level privilege given to user of group to define their action on the computer system. Roaming. The administrator may define user accounts in a way that user is able to log on to my system, which is a member of domain using domain is account remote access service or RAS gateway.
Environment layout. Profiles are user-specific and able to store information about the layout, desktop, and user environment in general. They are specifically restricted through the use of mandatory profiles. Auditing. The server can track access and use it by domain user accounts.
Creating user folder. Basically, a user folder is the storage of the files stored by the user to the computer server. Active Directory Domain Services. Before creating a user folder, the administrator of the server should first install the Active Directory Domain Services and create a user account. To install the ADDS, the administrator should open the command prompt and type dcpromo to install ADDS, DNS, and create a forest and domain. A server that runs ADDS is a domain controller. The domain controller basically validates and gives access to all users and computers in a Windows domain types network, appoints and creates security protocols for all computers, and lastly, install and add softwares.
Active Directory Domain Services features, or ADDS. These are the features of having the Active Directory Domain Services. 1. Security. The data is stored securely. Each of the objects in the Active Directory has an ACL, or Access Control List, which consists of the resources that one may access and along with access privileges given to each resource. 2. Query capabilities. The ADDS creates a global catalog to give a mechanism to handle queries. A client who has ADDS can query the catalog to request directory data. 3. Replication. To replicate a directory to all domain controllers means easy access, high availability, and improved fault tolerance. 4. Extensibility. Having ADDS is extensible, meaning that new object types can be added to a directory. An attribute can be added, for example, to the user object. Once a user is created, a user folder is also automatically created upon the login of the user to the client computer.